On April 23, 2025, news broke that Simon Epka would be extradited to Nigeria in July 2025, shocking many since Nigeria and Finland have no extradition treaty. Simon Ekpa's lawyer, Kumarus, stated he has no information about any extradition and confirmed Simon Ekpa's case is still pending at the Piami District Court, with a hearing expected in June 2025. Checks on the official Piam District Court website revealed no updates or confirmation about Simon's extradition. Further research on Finland's major news outlet, YLE, showed no recent articles confirming Simon Ekpa's extradition either. The National Bureau of Investigation, NBI, of Finland, responsible for Simon Ekpa's arrest, also has no public record of his extradition. Only general case updates were found. Additional checks on international outlets like Helsinki Times and Al Jazeera also revealed no reports confirming Simon Ekpa's extradition to Nigeria. A past case in Finland was highlighted where extradition to Rwanda was refused due to the lack of a treaty, drawing a parallel to Simon Ekpa's situation. The investigation concluded that the news of Simon Ekpa being extradited in July is completely false and unsubstantiated. Simon Ekpa may still face trial in Finland, but there is no official move to send him back to Nigeria as of now. Currently, Simon Ekpa's only possible path forward is securing bail, but Finland has imposed very strict and difficult conditions for his release. On April 23, 2025, the news world was set abuzz with a report that stunned many people, particularly Nigerians around the world. The breaking news suggested that Simon Ekpa would be extradited from Finland to Nigeria in July 2025. This announcement shocked people because there is no formal extradition treaty between Nigeria and Finland. Without such a treaty, extraditions are extremely rare and legally complicated. Naturally, many questions began swirling. How could this be possible? Was this report even true? What was really happening with Simon Ekpa? Simon Ekpa's legal representative, a lawyer named Kumarus, spoke to the media soon after the news broke. In a conversation with journalists, including a BBC Pidgin team, Kumarus made it clear that he had no knowledge whatsoever of any planned extradition for his client. He emphasized that Simon Ekpa's legal case was still ongoing in the Pihajoki District Court in Finland, with a significant hearing scheduled for June 2025. According to him, there were no indications, either officially or informally, that Simon Ekpa would be sent back to Nigeria. To confirm these claims, independent researchers and journalists took it upon themselves to verify information through official channels. They went to the official website of the Pihajoki District Court. This court, for clarity, is the formal venue where all updates about Simon Ekpa's legal matters would be published. It is the court where the Finnish authorities, specifically the National Bureau of Investigation of Finland, filed the original charges against him after his arrest. Upon scouring the Pihajoki District Court's website, no information or updates regarding an impending extradition were found. Not a single public document, press release or update supported the claims that Simon Ekpa would be extradited in July. The absence of any such record from the court was telling, considering that such a significant legal move would almost certainly be documented officially. Still determined to uncover the full truth, investigators widened their research. They next turned to Yleisradio Oy, better known as YLA, Finland's largest and most credible news organization. YLA is known for its thorough reporting, and any major legal decision involving a high-profile figure like Simon Ekpa would certainly be covered there. Searches for Simon Ekpa's name on YLA's platforms did reveal some articles and past coverage of his legal battles. However, none of the reports confirmed, hinted at, or even discussed his extradition to Nigeria. Refusing to leave any stone unturned, the researchers also explored the National Bureau of Investigation of Finland's website. After all, This is the official body responsible for Simon Ekpa's arrest and for overseeing the investigations against him. Yet again, when they searched for updates or press releases about Simon Ekpa's status, the only relevant information they could find involved a general notice that the police had requested the remand of 5 individuals on suspicion of various offences. No mention of extradition was made. No special announcement about Simon Ekpa being sent to Nigeria was released. Taking the investigation further, they checked other reliable international news sources. One such outlet was the Helsinki Times, a reputable English-language newspaper based in Finland that covers national and international news with seriousness and professionalism. Despite thorough searches, the Helsinki Times had no articles confirming that Simon Ekpa would be extradited. They even turned to Al Jazeera, the internationally respected news organization that has a strong track record of reporting on global political and human rights issues. On Al Jazeera's website, there were mentions of Simon Ekpa, especially in articles related to separatist conflicts in Africa. However, none of the reports said anything about Simon Ekpa's extradition to Nigeria. The last mention was from a January 2025 article discussing broader separatist issues, but it did not link Simon Ekpa to any extradition efforts. One of the most compelling pieces of evidence against the claim came from a precedent in Finland's own legal history. In February 2009, Finland had refused to extradite a man to Rwanda. This man was accused of serious crimes committed during the 1994 Rwandan genocide. Despite the gravity of the accusations, Finland declined to extradite him because there was no formal extradition treaty between Rwanda and Finland. Instead of sending him back, Finland decided to prosecute the man within its own legal system. This historical case drew a striking parallel to Simon Ekpa's current situation. It reinforced the understanding that without a legal treaty, extradition is almost impossible, even when serious accusations are involved. Therefore, after examining multiple reputable sources, checking official government websites, and even looking into historical examples, the conclusion became crystal clear. The report claiming that Simon Ekpa would be extradited to Nigeria in July 2025 was entirely false and unsubstantiated. There was simply no credible evidence to support it. Currently, the only legal matter concerning Simon Ekpa that remains active is his pending trial in Finland. There is no official or unofficial move to extradite him to Nigeria at this time. However, Simon Ekpa's future remains uncertain in some respects. While extradition seems off the table, he still faces legal challenges in Finland, and the courts will continue to hear his case. Interestingly, there is one potential path forward for Simon Ekpa in the short term, but it is an extremely difficult one: applying for bail. The government of Finland has indicated that Simon Ekpa could be granted bail, but the conditions set for his release are so strict that some have described them as almost impossible to meet. Although the specific conditions were detailed in a separate report, a summary of the situation paints a picture of near impracticality. The Finnish authorities have outlined multiple rigorous requirements, making it nearly unattainable for Simon Ekpa to walk free before his trial concludes. These include extremely high financial guarantees, intense supervision measures, and possibly other legal constraints designed to ensure he does not flee the country or interfere with judicial processes. This heavy-handed approach likely reflects the seriousness with which Finnish authorities are treating the accusations against Simon Ekpa, as well as their desire to maintain the integrity of their legal system. Still, for Simon Ekpa and his supporters, it is a frustrating and difficult reality. In reflecting on the entire situation, it becomes evident how easily misinformation can spread in today's fast-paced media environment. A single unverified report can cause international uproar and emotional reactions before the facts are properly established. In Simon Ekpa's case, many people, especially in Nigeria, responded immediately with anger, fear, hope, or celebration, depending on their political views. Yet the basic truth remained that no official action toward extradition had even been initiated. For observers of international law and human rights, this case also highlights the importance of extradition treaties. Such treaties are not mere formalities. They are essential legal frameworks that enable or prevent the transfer of suspects between countries. Without a treaty, legal systems like Finland's are bound to handle matters internally and are cautious about turning individuals over to other nations where they might face unfair trials or harsh treatment. In the end, Simon Ekpa's future will likely be determined within the borders of Finland itself. He will face trial according to Finnish law, and whatever verdict comes will be based on evidence presented in court. Whether he is found guilty or innocent, the process will happen under the watchful eye of a legal system that places high value on procedure, fairness, and due process. For now, supporters, critics, and the merely curious must wait. The June 2025 hearing at the Pihajoki District Court will be the next major milestone in this long and complex story. Until then, rumors should be treated with caution, and only verified information should be trusted. It is important to understand more about who Simon Ekpa is and why his case has drawn such intense interest both in Nigeria and internationally. Simon Ekpa is a lawyer by training and an advocate for the self-determination of the people in the Anglophone regions of Nigeria. He came to Finland years ago to pursue advanced studies and found himself entangled in legal troubles after Finnish authorities arrested him. The charges against him are tied to inflammatory public speeches and alleged support for extremist activities, although his supporters maintain that he is merely exercising his right to free speech. The National Bureau of Investigation of Finland, known locally as Rikospoliisi, opened a criminal case that led to his remand in custody. This background helps explain why rumors of extradition would create such an uproar. There is already a high degree of controversy surrounding his activities and the legal scrutiny he faces in Finland. To paint a clearer picture of the Finnish legal process that Simon Ekpa is currently navigating, it is worth exploring how criminal cases proceed in Finland. Once the National Bureau of Investigation files charges, suspects may be held in pre-trial detention while the district court, here the Pihajoki District Court, evaluates whether to grant bail or continue remand. Pre-trial hearings in Finland are generally public, and evidence is disclosed to both the prosecution and defense in a transparent manner well ahead of trial. Finnish law emphasizes the presumption of innocence, ensuring that every individual accused of a crime has full access to legal representation and the opportunity to mount a defense. Although Simon Ekpa's supporters fear that he might be mistreated or that his rights could be curtailed, the Finnish judiciary is widely regarded as impartial and committed to due process. Trials in Finland can be lengthy, often stretching across several months to allow for thorough examination of witness testimonies, expert analyses, and documentary evidence. Understanding the broader diplomatic context is also crucial. Nigeria and Finland maintain cordial bilateral relations, but their interactions are more oriented around trade, education exchange programs, and environmental cooperation rather than legal or security matters. Neither country currently has an extradition treaty in place, which means that any formal request to transfer a suspect from one jurisdiction to the other would require ad hoc negotiations and possibly the signing of a special agreement. Historically, Finland has resisted making such agreements unless there is a clear reciprocal benefit and assurances that human rights would be upheld post-extradition. The 2009 case involving a Rwandan suspect stands as a testament to this stance. In that situation, despite serious allegations connected to crimes against humanity, Finnish authorities opted to prosecute the individual domestically rather than hand him over, precisely because of the absence of a treaty and out of concern for fair trial standards. In Simon Ekpa's case, the lack of any formal extradition procedures raises significant questions about how the July 2025 rumor could have gained traction in the first place. Social media channels, particularly messaging apps and political blogs, are often the breeding ground for sensational stories that spread rapidly without verification. Influential bloggers and self-styled news anchors in Nigeria may have seen an opportunity to generate traffic and engagement by posting dramatic headlines about an imminent extradition. Once these stories are shared, they can take on a life of their own, as people repost without checking official court documents or statements from the Finnish authorities. Even mainstream outlets sometimes pick up these unfounded reports, perpetuating a cycle of misinformation that is hard to stop once it gathers momentum. The emotional impact of such reporting should not be underestimated. For many Nigerians who support Simon Ekpa's political aims, the prospect of him being sent back to Nigeria under detention sounded like a betrayal, as the Nigerian judicial system is often criticized for political interference, overcrowded prisons, and slow case processing. Conversely, critics of Simon Ekpa celebrated the rumored extradition as a sign that international pressure was finally mounting against him. In reality, neither side had any factual basis for their jubilation or outrage. The truth, as we have established, is that no extradition request has been made, no treaty is in place, and the Finnish legal machinery continues to handle the case through domestic proceedings. Looking ahead, Simon Ekpa's next major milestone will be the scheduled hearing in June 2025 at the Pihajoki District Court. At that hearing, the presiding judge will review the prosecution's evidence and the arguments put forward by Simon Ekpa's defense team. If the judge finds that there is sufficient cause to believe that he committed the offenses alleged, the case will proceed to a full trial with witness testimonies and further documentary evidence. If, however, the judge decides that the charges lack adequate support or that the evidence is too weak to proceed, the case could be dismissed altogether. In many Finnish criminal cases, early hearings like this are critical because they can narrow the scope of contested issues, compel the prosecution to refine its case, or even lead to negotiations for plea arrangements, though the latter is more common in less high-profile matters. For those who remain curious about what might happen after the trial, there are a few potential scenarios. If Simon Ekpa is acquitted, he will regain his freedom fully, and any possibility of deportation to Nigeria would likely require a separate administrative proceeding, again hampered by the lack of an extradition treaty. If he is convicted, Finland could either impose a prison sentence within its own system or, in extreme circumstances, seek to expel him as a non-citizen under immigration laws. However, even expulsion is not straightforward, as Finnish law protects individuals from being returned to countries where they might face persecution or inhumane treatment. Deportation to Nigeria would require assurances that his human rights would be respected, an option that Nigerian authorities would need to provide to Finland's satisfaction. This is the end of our news update. Please click the icon on the top right corner of your screen to watch my next video. You will enjoy it. I will see you again in my next update. Enjoy the rest of your day. Goodbye for now.